Are you looking for a new challenge? Or have you lost the ability to feel excitement due to overexposure to murderous animated corpses and are now seeking an ever purer source of adrenaline? Fear not, cause here are the most dangerous locations I could find in Project Zomboid. Now there are a couple of things that make a location prone to unfortunate accidents. Mainly zombies. So that brings us to the baseball stadium. This weirdly shaped donut has a surprising amount of zombies inside. Apparently when the zombie apocalypse started, everyone was in the queue for a hot dog or something. But once you discovered a mass of hot dog enthusiasts, you could run onto the field. Big mistake, buddy. Cause you're now surrounded by a mob on one side and the luscious beckoning walls of densely occupied flesh-eating donut on the other. But if you're not exhausted, you can of course always power yourself through and try and hide in some safe part of the city. So of all the big locations, this one's still pretty mild. Mainly because the dangerous part is a bit small. Next up we have something that is not so small. This mall. I didn't measure it exactly, but I believe it's the biggest single building in the whole game. And that also brings us to the second thing quite important to the dangerousness of a location. Size. The bigger the building, of course, the harder it will be to get back to safety. But besides its raw girth and the multiple stories, its overall size is compensated by the fact that the hallways inside are also a bit wide. They're even so wide that I think two true Americans would almost be able to pass each other, which makes it quite easy to dodge an incoming mob. So that's why this is only number 9. Also, there's just not that many zombies in here. If you wanted, I think you could even clear this thing out without getting the whole building to breathe down your neck. Plus you can always retreat to the parking lot if you really need to. And there you've all the space in the world to run around in terror. And next up, we have the mall. Again. But not really, cause it's the other one. The inside of it looks more or less the same. As small as a mall can be. The malls are even more or less the same size. But there's one major difference. This mall is in the middle of nowhere. Well, compared to the other one at least. I guess it's not as bad because of the few houses nearby, but even for those you have to walk quite a bit. So that means if you get overwhelmed and manage to get out of there, you're just in a field. That's not really optimal. But there are places with way more fuckedness in terms of location. The real yacht contains some buildings, a high but fair amount of zombies, for the open field it is, but it's in the middle of a forest. There's just no way you have a chance looting this without a car. If you would attempt, you're just fucked when you inevitably run out of steam with a big group of sets behind you. But if you do have a nice truck, I still don't get why you would ever loot this location. Unless there's some tasty loot I don't know about hiding somewhere around the corner. But even then, if you park your car here and move your way down the complex, you can still be quite a ways away from your car, which might be infested by the time you get back. But as you know, there's always the bigger fish in the sea, and in terms of being in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, it's certainly the military base. It's kilometers from the nearest bit of civilization, and you can't even really get there with the car, at least not if your driving skills are as good as mine. But why am I putting this on 6th place on the list? That's because when you finally crawl your way over here, there's not much in terms of actual building. If this base were to stand in the middle of Louisville, it would appear no bigger than a medium-sized office building. Plus there's just not that many zombies inside. But this complex does have one more thing that makes it worth its weight in pain and misery. Security doors. Oh, how fun it is running along in your little challenge and then suddenly... Let me through, and then you die. Now a lot of zombies trying to eat you whilst you run into a wall is never pleasant to deal with, but there are even more dimensions to what makes a place truly dangerous. Introducing the maze known as the police station in Louisville. The police station itself is already a formidable challenge with its confusing layout, many closed doors, and a cute lack of, windows. Once you're truly in, it's a bit hard to get out, but things really get rough once you make the mistake of going upstairs. Not only do you intensify the maze many-fold by the fact that the building is connected to other buildings with even more zombies in them, you also royally screw yourself when you take this flight of stairs, cause that's the only one you're gonna get that half of the building. especially when you have a horde behind you, in which case, good luck. Now, I was quite surprised to find that there were very few locations in the game that are truly swamped with zombies. And the hospital is surely getting up there. I think this is the exact amount of zombies needed to guarantee you get overwhelmed if you go in. Critical mass, if you will. And the building is certainly not small. So these types of buildings you can only really clear by luring flocks outside at a time. Like with sheep. Except that you then brutally murder them afterwards. But dread not, it can always become worse. Introducing the R. Johnson office building. For as far as I could find, this is the biggest office building in town. And it's stuffed to the brim with zombies. Oodles of them. And there's 4 floors of that goodness. Like seriously, from this point on, I have no idea why you would ever visit one of these locations. I mean, what kind of essentials are you gonna get from an office complex? Some paper clips? Maybe some cigarettes that the poor fucks that worked here needed to be able to deal with the stress of their shitty job? No thanks. But of course it can always get worse. But I think for as far as crowdedness in locations go, I have found the winner. The Sandstone apartment and some other similar apartments in the area, but certainly not all in the center of Louisville, seem to be the winner of the Who Can Squash the Most Bodies into One Place award. And again, it's not like they're guarding some true treasure. Nope, the place they lived might arguably be worse than a normal neighborhood in terms of loot. If you make the mistake of stepping 1 foot on these stairs, you're just doomed. And then we finally arrive at the root of all evil, my good old friend, the prison. This son of a is not only fairly big, filled with a great amount of zombies and quite isolated. No, once you set foot in the nearly windowless reality of the inside, you will get lost. Not to speak of the countless dead ends, locked doors and other tricks that make this building the most dangerous location in the whole map. And all that for what? In a jumpsuit? Yes, sign me up for death! And if I counted correctly, that was 10. But I have found some interesting other locations whilst I was on the hunt. Mainly there were a huge amount of big locations that did not have a lot of zombies, like the train station. But hey, this is the US, who in their right mind's gonna take the train anyway? But there are also other locations that are quite empty, like the Expo Center, that kinda reminds me of an empty mall. And the whole university campus is pretty lightly staffed, apparently everybody went on vacation. And even the cemetery seems to be mostly deserted, which is the last place you'd think to be calm during the zombie apocalypse. I also discovered some other interesting stuff about the Project Zomboid map whilst combing through it, but I think I'll leave that for another video. For now, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully see you next time. Bye bye.